On today's Your Story, Our Purpose, One Heartbeat, we talked with Nancy Barrett, a challenge teacher at Milam who led her stock market team to the national championship at the Capitol Hill Challenge in Washington, D.C. We are going to sit down with her and talk about what goes into this process and the benefits these kids receive. We're talking with Nancy Barrett at Milam, and what an incredible year you've had that's kind of carried over into this year with the stock market game. You guys, can we call you national champions?
Yes.
Call you national champions. You got to go to D.C., be presented, meet some incredible people, including our own congressmen and congresswomen, and then recently you were invited with your students to go to Jackson to participate in a conference because they had won the Capitol Hill Challenge.
That's correct.
Take me through the experience of what these kids have learned and what it meant for them to be recognized on the level in Jackson as well as in Washington, D.C.
Okay. We begin the year with the stock market game where we teach them about the stock market. We teach them the formulas. We teach them how to read a stock market page. And I kind of look at it being like a piece of the puzzle. In order to make their decisions, it's several pieces of the puzzles that have to fit together in order to make the decision. They create a stock market portfolio. They're given hypothetically $100,000, and they have to create the stock market portfolio, and they invest, and then we watch it for about I don't remember how many weeks, from about September to about December in the fall. In the spring, it's about the end of January till April. And that's the stock market game. That's on the state level. We were invited to participate in the Capitol Hill Challenge, which is slightly different. In the state market, in the state game, they compete in their own division. They're in the middle school division. And they're in Region 3 because we're based on our state congressional districts, but the Capitol Hill Challenge is a national game,
right?
And they don't compete in a division. They're just thrown into the big mix.
Open division.
It's open to everybody. In the state game, they were only required to buy stocks. In the Capitol Hill Challenge, they had to have at least one stock, one mutual fund, and one bond, which meant that not only did I have to go back and refresh them on the stock market portfolio bond, but I also had to introduce bonds and mutual funds to them and how to pick a mutual fund and a bond that would be beneficial for them. Only 2 schools per congressional district, which was Trent Kelly, is invited to participate, and only 10 teams per school. And so after they did the research. I put the team together. After they did the research, they had to put together a portfolio, and then we watched it grow from there.
So every day you had 6th graders checking
every day
the stock market to see how their funds were doing.
In fact, they wanted to skip bell ringers and everything else just to look at their stock portfolio to see. Even some of them would even program their app, get a stock market app on their phone and keep a check.
That's awesome. Now, Ms. Barrett, what's really impressive is with the Capitol Hill Challenge, Charles Schwab, they were the sponsor for that.
They were the sponsor, yes.
They weren't competing just against 6th graders. They were competing against high school teams from all over the country, and they won.
Every congressional district, as far west as we had a team from Hawaii, Texas, Georgia. I'm not quite sure. There was, I think, one in one of the New England states. I'm not quite sure of all the states, but they were most impressed with the Hawaiian team because they had to fly 24 hours
a
long way to get there. But their original goal was just to make the top 10.
Wow.
But it was like the icing on the cake when they found out that they won first place.
And it kind of went down to the wire for them. Is that correct?
It did that last week. It was that last week.
And they started that week in 22nd.
Second place, and then they went to 4th place, which they were really amazed. How could they jump from 22nd to 4th? once again, that's a learning experience. That's the way the stock market works. And then they went to first place, and they stayed in first place the rest of the week.
What an incredible experience for them. Did you get any questions from like the high schoolers who were competing against them? Like, how did these sixth graders beat us? What was their model of success?
I kind of think that because they did the same research, they knew about bonds and mutual funds. Actually, they were at an advantage because in the state competition of the stock market game, high school teams are required to do mutual fund and bonds. So that is part of the state, not the middle school division. So my kids had to learn about bonds and mutual funds, and they obviously did quite well. But they did ask during each. We went to Morgan Stanley, we went to Charles Schwab, we went to the Royal Bank of Canada. We went to different locations, and every location we went to, they would interview the teams and ask what were their stocks. And the overwhelming word through it all was diversity.
Right.
You've got
Which
to
is what
diversify.
our financial planners tell
Right.
us.
You got to diversify, and they were successful because they did diversify, and that was one of the pieces of the puzzle. That when they were originally researching their portfolio was to make sure it was a diversified portfolio, make sure they learned about the different business sectors.
And because they won, then this past summer, going into fall, they got to go to Jackson and participate in the IM 65 conference.
That well, the trip to DC was in June,
Right.
and when about a week after we returned from the trip to DC, the Mississippi Council of Economic Education was contacting me saying, could they come speak at our conference? Well, the original date was set for September, but however, it got pushed back for some, I guess, scheduling purposes until November. And so they went in November, so they had to prepare a speech. And they did. They prepared their own speech. They would tell me what they wanted. They laid it out. I met with them on several occasions, and they planned out what they wanted to say. And then we practiced and we spoke. And I'm going to say they got a standing ovation.
Wow.
They were so amazed. Those business people, and there were about over 500 people. We did not realize how big it was until we pulled up at the Jackson complex, and they had police out there directing traffic, telling cars, and we're going, whoa. And they went in, it was huge, it was in this huge room, and then they got up to speak. And as we left the stage, they said, I think these young men deserve a standing ovation. And so everybody stood up for them.
That's incredible. As a challenge teacher, I know that you're very proud of them. And you feel free, if you'd like, tell us who they were that were on your team.
I had Matthew McDaniel, Carson Bedgood, Austin Campbell, and Zach Kite.
Well, what they learn, take away the recognition, take away the awards. What they learn will carry them financially for the rest of their lives, and at sixth grade. So
I actually had a parent several weeks ago tell me that her child is in college, and she is actually dabbling in the stock market herself from what she had learned from sixth grade. So what we do in the sixth grade at Milam Challenge is
that's incredible.
It's incredible.
Really is. Well, thank you so much for
Thank
the
you.
effort and what you do. And, you know, the show's called Your Story, Our Purpose, One Heartbeat. And if ever there was a definition of one heartbeat, it was the community coming together to support these kids.
That's
and you
right.
helping them. And we see what the end result was.
That's right. They're successful.
Ms. Barrett, thank you so much for taking the time to tell your story about the kids. And we look forward to future stock market game results.